because the second bit, after you've analysed the different theories, explain ways in which theories, principles and models of learning can be applied to teaching and learning and assessment in your situation. So there you can actually mention some of the ones you've looked at. You'll be able to say, yes, well, technically I actually use this, this and this because it matches in with what I do. It's very rare that you'll find none that will suit the method of teaching that you do. Occasionally you will, of course, or it may be that you could put in, develop a certain theory and say, I cannot use this because it doesn't fit in with what we do. There's no way we could use that type of learning. My learners wouldn't be in a position to do this, this and this. So yeah, some of the models that you'll see are specific for different types of learners. So yeah, it's not just a generalized thing. So 1.3 is analyze models of learning preference. Yeah, and then explain how identifying and taking account of learners' individual learning preferences can you enable teaching to be inclusive and the assessment process as well. Again, check your responses in Unit 1, covering initial assessment, and you may have evidence of this. Plus, of course, if you've got your ILPs from Unit 1, you'll be able to refer to those as well. Yeah, because you'll be able to say, if you remember, I put on Unit 1 to pick a learner with a specific problem or issue. Even in SEN, there is you'll have one learner that has a specific need that others don't. And what I was asking you to in Unit 1 is select one, so that the evidence you've got forward in terms of the initial assessment and the ILP, the lesson planning, where it's been adapted for them or anything like that in Unit 1, can be actually repeated in here. You can actually use that evidence again in this situation. Sorry? That's 1.3, yeah, on LO1. 1.4 again is explaining how. Sorry, check your response. Sorry, I've gone to 1.4. That was 1.3. Analyze models of learning preference. Yeah, and then explain how taking into account of those assists in inclusive teaching, learning, and assessment. LO2 now looks at, and if you remember what we've just done in Unit 2, it's looked at theories of communication, and it's actually looked at theories, models of assessment, and it looked at theories, models of, no, it didn't say correctional development, model of reflection and evaluation. So there's three there that if you'd already completed this, the evidence would be a direct cross-reference into Unit 2 with probably a slight linking, paragraph to explain how it fits in. But yeah, 2 is analyse theories, models, principles of communication, and then check the I've got the amplification on there as well. You can check if you want some ideas on there. You can always check for that. Looking at the different theorists, you'll find there's a bunch of theorists on models of learning. There is a bunch of theorists on learning preferences. There's another bunch of theorists on communication principles and assessment and curriculum development, and of course reflection and evaluation. Some of these theorists actually are mentioned all the way through. They've got an input in pretty well all those areas, so it's worth having a look on there for some ideas. That's all. So as we move into explain ways in which theories and principles and models of communication can be applied to teaching, learning, and assessment. And it basically says the same thing all the way through the unit on this. So again, check your responses at Unit 1, whether it covers clearly the communication process. If you have done... Sorry? I don't know what question you're on. We're on LO2, 2.1 and 2.2, yeah? LO2 is understanding the application of theories, principles and models of communication. I thought we just went to Unit 3. Sorry? Yes, this is Unit 3. learning objective 2? Yeah? Unit 2, as we finished off, it was looking at theories and models of reflection, and it was also looking at theories and models of assessment and communication. And Unit 3, it's asking you to do virtually the same thing. Slightly different. It's making an analysis of the theories at the start, and then it's explaining... Oh, right, okay. Well, this is Unit 3, and it really doesn't matter because they all follow one another. If you look at LO1, it's analyse theories and principles and models of learning. 101.3 is analyse models of learning preference. And then the other two in between are explain how those can be used in actual practice. If you move on to LO2, 2.1 is analyse theories, models and principles of communication. So it's asking you to do basically an analysis of the theorists in that area, and then explain how those theories and principles and models can be applied to actually your situation, or not, as the case may be. LO3 is again an analysis of theories, principles and models of assessment. And so you're going to look at different theories and principles of assessment, the assessment process, and then explain ways in which those theories can be applied to your situation again. So it's a repeat all the way through the unit of different circumstances, be they learning preferences, assessment, reflection, whatever they are, and then it's asking you to basically analyse the theorists in that area and then explain how those theories apply in your situation. So we move on to LO4, which is again this one asking you to analyse theories and models of curriculum development, how the curriculum that you deliver is actually developed, how you actually put a scheme of work together, yeah, how that scheme of work has to match the particular type of learner that you have. And once you've actually done your analysis of the theories again, it's asked you to explain ways in which those theories, models of curriculum development can be applied to developing curriculum in your own area of specialism. So basically, you need to do some, on each one of these, well, I'll just go to the fifth one, is analyse theories and models of reflection and evaluation. So explain ways in which theories and models of reflection can be applied to reviewing your own practice. So 5.1 here, you have to refer to any handout, add the reflective teacher, analyse the theories and models of reflection and evaluation, and then apply the theory in task 5.1 to your learners. Use examples of your own assessment work and how you actually evaluate and reflect on your own teaching. So that is 3 in a nutshell. It means that basically in the first part of each learning objective, you do not involve you do not to do any writing at all where you're explaining how those theories work with you. That is the second part. A lot of the students on the other group that I've got this completely mixed up. When they've sent it to me, they've got loads and loads of stuff for 1.2 and nothing at all for 1.1 because they've not analysed the theories and principles. They've just talked about them in and how they fit in with what they do or not, as the case may be. So they'd had to do a big piece of rework, which meant that they had to rewrite 1.1, 1.3, 2.1, 3.1, 4.1 and 5.1, but then having probably 10 times excess work that they've already produced for the second part of the learning objective or the second assessment criteria. So what I'm trying to do is give you a heads up on that to make sure that you understand that, yeah, and that you know exactly what you've got to do. So you've had a go at this, have you, Deepa?
No, I haven't.
You've not made a start yet?
No, I'm going to start tonight.
Ah, well, that's giving you a good heads up then. Have you got any questions about that?
No, not yet.
Right, good.
asking about have I done Unit 2 correct?
Sorry?
I'm wondering whether I've done Unit 2 correct or not.
Right. Well, there wasn't much left to do.
No.
There wasn't. There was only odds and ends to do to tidy that up. But like what I was trying to do with why I put that in at the end when he came in, it was showing you where the link is between 2 and 3. Some of the questions are very similar, and if you'd answered these, this goes deeper. This one, Unit 3, and if you'd answered these correctly, and let's say we'd started off with Unit 3 instead of Unit 1, yeah, you'd have been able to cross-reference your evidence from here into more boxes in the other units. I'm just looking at ways of making it easier or more straightforward because, as I said, I think I said right at the start of the course, there is a lot of repetition.
Yeah.
Certainly because the first 4 units are mandatory, and once you've got those over, the other units that are picked in behind those will take quite a bit of cross-referencing. The ability to cross-reference, should I say, is manifold all the way through. In fact, Adele, you do have some SEN learners, don't you? Hello?
Yeah.
You've got some SEN learners, yeah. What I've found is that Unit 24, when we get round to that one, is almost certainly you'll be able to bridge a large pieces of Unit 24 with work that you've already produced. Because if we've done the work correctly on the other units, certainly on Unit 3 anyway, that will then transform straight across into those units because it asks virtually the same questions. Now, I spoke to the awarding body with regard to, I'll turn to the external verifier about this, and I said, look, a lot of this is, there's an ability on here to cross-reference. I said, some of my students have got, that work in SEN anyway. I said, others have SEN students themselves, and therefore they'll have put quite a bit of information with regard to that in the earlier units. How do you feel about cross-referencing directly the evidence that you've already produced if it's fulfilling the assessment criteria? And he said, not a problem at all. So I said, right, okay, that's all I wanted to know. So that's why I've now moved into thinking that Unit 3 might be the best unit to run first. So, yeah. I just wanted to look at, where's it gone? Yeah, the first one, Unit 1, LO1, sorry. If you look at our LO1, for some reason they've made this into 4 learning objectives instead of 2 separate learning objectives. It doesn't matter because it's actually allied. What they're looking at in theories and models of learning, and in 1.3, it's analysed models of learning preference. There is only a slight difference in them, and a lot of the theorists that are in models of learning are also in learning preference as well. If I move on back to, put that down for a minute, and we look at amplification. I'm just reading something on here that might be useful. Yeah, to provide the appropriate level of challenge, attention should be paid to developing appropriate research and study skills with the learners. So these skills then can be used to support building the essential body of knowledge to inform teaching practice. Links should be made with the practical core units at Unit 2 and Unit 1 in teaching, learning and assessment. So again, it's accepting that there is a crossover of knowledge or unit from this unit into the others. So what we'll do is we'll have a quick look at this. So,
okay. Is it okay if I get started on 20% Unit 2? So can I just do that one, it's fresh in my head.
Yeah, by all means, I'll just go into to this to show you where this is, and then I'll drop back to that. If you look at the unit amplification, this gives you a bunch of theories in that area. So you're looking at principles and models, procedural and declarative knowledge, Anderson, skills development, Gagne, scaffolding learning, Bruner and Vygotsky. Vygotsky crops up a lot. Knowing that and knowing how, Ryle, inductive learning, Bruner, deductive, Ausbel, I can never get his name right. Approaches, situated approaches to learning, the banking concept of education, Priory, competency-based models. There's a whole host of things. I'm not expecting you to cover everything that's on there. What I would say is have a look at them, do a bit of research with them, and then pick out 2 or 3 at the most that match pretty much with how you actually operate, and then use those in your analysis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that 1 point? That's LO1, right? Analysis.
That's LO 1.1. Yeah. Yeah, on the side of here, it's giving you the learning outcome 1.1, and that's the ideas for that. And then the next one is 1.2. Yeah, and then analysis of the models of learning preference. So it's looking at Gardner's multiple intelligences, Coffield et al. Critique of learning styles, Entwistle, metacognition, ability to set explicit challenging goals, to identify strategies to reach these goals and to monitor the progress towards them. What I'm saying is do some research on these guys and make some notes, and then you can actually pick the ones that match pretty well. Sometimes it's interesting to pick one and say, well, that would never work for me, or would never work for me with my students. It's sometimes good to pick one that's an obverse of what you need and explain why. So we'll get to 2.1, get there in a minute, and it looks again at all the different people that look at communication models, Piaget, Vygotsky again, yeah, cross transactions, the interactionalist approaches, Bruner again, impact of non-verbal or body language. On the VLE, there are also some PowerPoint presentations on these areas that might be useful to you as well. And again, it's giving you, basically this gives you some good ideas of what to put into your process. 2.2 again is showing where, or picking out a couple, and as I said, you might use an obverse one to say why it doesn't, of those, and explain how they work for you. 3.1 again, it's looking at assessment. And it's looking at standardised national assessments, QCA, QCF, the measure of skills, the aptitude of knowledge, promoting learning and assessment of learning and for learning, part of the training cycle, medal and mission, petty, check and correct. All these are subjects that have been researched, and there's plenty of information on them. So, as I say, just have a quick look through those and do a bit of research and make some notes, and you'll be able to fly through this one. Where are we? 3.2 again. So 4.1, looking at principles and models of curriculum development. For example, broad, all teaching and learning related, humanist, behaviourist, cognitive, developmental or progressive, spiral learning, creative, Simon Moldorf, academic or product-based, Tenhouse and Tyler, and situational model, Scalebeck, curriculum as a process, pyramid or spinal, mastery of learning, Bloom, again, you've got Bloom's taxonomy cost there again.
Actually,
yeah. So again, these are just ideas for you to do some research on, pick out the ones that match up with what you do best. Again, by all means, pick an odd one out where you can say, well, that will never work, and why. And it gives you a good sort of black and white picture for your analysis. Because this unit is really more about improving your research skills. Yeah. 12.2 again is the application. And then analyse theories and models of reflection and evaluation. Kolb's learning cycle, Honey and Mumford learning styles, Schoen, it's Schoen, not Sean. Reflection in action, reflection on action. Greenlay's plan, do, review. Gibbs's reflective cycle. John's description of reflection. Influencing factors. Murphy, new situation and awareness of thoughts. Describing the situation and then analysing the knowledge gained. Evaluating the relevance and use of knowledge and identifying learning to apply to new experience. Moon, Dewey and Schoen, Tripp, critical incident approach. Brookfield's critical lenses. Yeah, all of those are things you can look up and do some research on, and then again look at the cognitive approach from yourself then to see what works, what would work for you and why, or what would not work for you and why again. And that will formulate your analysis. And again, as you move into the second part of each one, how you actually, you'll pick probably one at least that will match pretty well with what you do, and then you can explain how that develops down into the way you deliver and assess those processes in your everyday job. Oh, you're not reading that? It's information for tutors. You can't have that, sorry. It's already there. So you can, again, what I've said is this is purely an exercise in learning how to do research and make notes from research and then apply that to what you're actually doing yourself. Yeah. So it gives an explanation of each of the learning outcomes on here as well. So it's quite a useful document, this, which is why I put it on. You'll notice it's not one of mine, this. It's one that I have found and put into position because it makes it made a lot of things clearer for me. So I've no doubt it will make them clearer for you. Okay. I'll drop back for, where are we? Again, I need to go back from there. Have you got any questions on that, Deepa?
No.
You think you're going to be okay to make a start with that?
Yeah, I think so.
What I would do in this one, put together learning objectives 1 and 2 for me first, yeah?
Yeah.
And then send them across and let me have a look, yeah? If they're meeting, you know, as we've discussed tonight, if they're pretty much meeting what we've said, I'll say, right, that's fine, carry on with the rest. And I'll give you some feedback on that then as well, and you'll be able to pick it up from there. So what I was going to do, Adele, while I'll nip back, what did you want to look at on 2 again?
On 2?
Yeah, which part?
The first
Sorry?
two,
Sorry?
just scrolling down from there.
Yeah. Well, I'll bring that up again, just a sec.
I didn't get on 2.1.
Yeah, showing up in a minute.
When I explained the learning templates and the initial templates and all that, but then you said that as how you look at the particular style.
Well, LO1 is looking at to analyse the application of principles. So it's analyse your teaching principles you use in your day-to-day situation. So it's a short analysis in this case on how you apply teaching principles in your own area of specialism. So I mean, that's come straight from you. You don't need to research anything at all for that. That's straight from you. And evaluate the effectiveness and use of any creative or innovative approaches in your own area of specialism. This is where I've said that this will repeat through if you picked a learner that's got an issue, then you can show where you've changed things to actually suit that learner. Yeah. So it's evaluate from the detail from your lesson plans and schemes of work that you've already got, and one of those will show where you've got to meet our 2.1 your initial and diagnostic assessments, and you've agreed individual goals. This is, again, you can cross-reference this directly to 2.3 and 2.4 in LO1. Yeah, but make sure when you did Unit 1, you covered learning styles completely. 2.2 is produce a scheme of work. So again, refer to schemes of work in Unit 1, which was LO 3.1. Again, as always, just check what you have said meets these 3 points: the needs of learners, the delivery models, and internal and external requirements. Again, on there, if you've not mentioned that, then actually you need to do just a linking paragraph to say that this is why it meets the needs of learners, what the delivery model will be, and what the internal and external requirements are. Whether you do, setting them up for an exam or practice or anything of that nature. 2.3 is, again, design teaching and learning plans which take account of the individual needs, goals, learners, etc. So again, refer to the ILPs at Unit 1, 3.2, checking your text again there. It does actually mention those three. In this case. Again, identify the opportunities for learners and others to provide feedback. Cross-reference to LO1 3.5. Noting there's somewhere it's and others. Yeah. So it's looking for feedback from others and feedback to yourself from any learning or teaching practice that you've had observed, and anything at all where you've received feedback, even feedback from learners, yeah, where you've shown that can be used to inform your inclusive practice, yeah. So again, good cross-reference in this unit from Unit 1. 2.5, explain how your own practice taking into account all these theories, principles, and models of learning, communication, and assessment. Now, if you've already done, actually what I'm saying before, if you'd already done Unit 3, yeah, you could then say, see Unit 3, whatever it is, I can't remember what it is now, where you've actually covered this, and just, again, it would then just need a linking paragraph to explain where that fits in with that. But again, you can still cross-reference this to Unit 1, but you need to make sure you've added, taken into account theories, models and principles, or add it here. This is a different one. 3.1 is looking at behaviour management. So read and respond, the reading resource I've got on the VLE for that. So you can do an analysis of behaviour management. There's information, or plenty of information on the VLE for that, that you can look at. Establishing safe and inclusive, cross-reference to Unit 1, 4.3. But again, the reminder, always have a read at the text you've done there to make sure it does fulfil that. Again, explain how your own practice has taken into account theories of behaviour management. Respond or add to your response at 3.1. There is also further reading on safe and inclusive in Unit 1 resources. So again, when you just put that down a minute, when you look on here, if you go back to Unit 1, there are all sorts of resources on here that will you can use as well on other units. Yeah, trying to find that one. So, inclusive teaching and learning, yeah. So you can look at that one, education and training, learning styles, and inclusive teaching and learning. So you can always refer back to some of the useful information that there's available to you on the VLE on this. So again, it's designing the resources that you use. If we've done 3 first, you've already got that done. Again, you could check on Unit 1 at 5.3, but you need to check the responses meet the 2 criteria. And then, wherever it says demonstrate, all it needs is a short explanation here, because you can there is a question on the observation sheet that I've given you for the teaching observations that shows, talks about flexibility and adaptability and the use of inclusive teaching and learning approaches, and you can refer back to that as a piece of evidence as well. You can quote that where it's actually covered this, that shows you've demonstrated that on the observation. Again, communicate with learners and other professionals to meet individual learning needs and to encourage progression. So that's where you've given feedback as well. Cross-reference 3.5 and 6.6 on Unit 1, plus any IV reports, records of meetings, minutes, any audio-visual records, etc. that you can use. Again, I'll explain our own delivery is taking into account those different theories and principles. Cross-reference to Unit 1, 8.1. But again, you may need to add an explanation of where it meets theories, models and principles, which it didn't ask for in Unit 1. 5, designing assessments that meet. So it's records of the assessment methods you use and why for 2 learners. Yeah. Now you may already have got those. I'm not sure. I've not checked yours, Adele, but you may already have got those. I'm not sure. But again, it's demonstrate that flexibility and adaptability by using the different methods and types of assessment to meet individual learning needs. It all harks back to Unit 1 where I said pick a learner that you've got an issue with, or invent one if you've not got one, where you can refer back to that each time. So again, 5.3 is slightly different. It's showing, demonstrate how you use assessment data in mentoring learners for achievement and progress, setting targets, or planning subsequent sessions, and recording the outcomes of any assessment that takes place. How that's recorded, if you've got documentation in place, so copies of your records from your 2 learners with a narrative showing where you meet these 5 points. Yeah. 5.4, communicate assessment methods. So again, it's cross-reference to Unit 1, 6.6. Explain how your own assessment practices take into account theories, blah, blah, blah. Again, refer to your records in your explanation. Also, there is a reading resource on there giving some further information on that. Looking at minimum core again now, how it can be demonstrated. So again, it's 7.1 and 7.2, but slant the assessment into your analysis rather than, I think it was just learning. It's planning, delivering, assessing inclusive teaching and learning. So it was just looking at teaching and learning, I think, on 7.1 and 7.2. So you've got to look at where you can actually assess minimum core within the process that you're already taking place. It's basically looking at holistic assessment, where you capture information or assessment information in the normal course of the work that you're doing. 7.1, again, it's looking at theories, models of reflection to evaluate the effectiveness of your own practice, and then analyse ways in which you can improve. Now, it's almost a dead copy for. It doesn't match 8.1 as well as I think it does now, or 8.2. But because it said it checked that you made your evaluation as well as a review, and again it says make sure you did an analysis before your evaluation for 8.2. And if you haven't done those, then that cross-reference is not available. So, but like I said, if you'd already done Unit 3, then you could have cross-referenced that really well, but it's almost exactly the same question. In fact, what I'll try and do, but it's not going to do that. Let's just put that down a minute. I go to 3. I go to Unit 3, Suggested Evidence. Open that up. And then move it to one side. And make that smaller as well. Hello, not playing ball. No, not done it. Yep, move it over. He's playing about with me, I'm sorry. I'll get it right in a minute. We move to 5 on here. In Unit 3, it's asking you to analyse the theories and models of reflection and evaluation, and then explains in which theories and models of reflection can be applied to reviewing your own practice. Use theories and models of reflection to evaluate your own practice. And then again, the 7.2 is from that analysis, how you actually show that where you've picked out in there areas that you could improve. So the two, if you look at the two, they're very similar across there, aren't they?
They are.
They are really very similar, almost word for word, that bit. Apart from 5.1, it's asking you to do the analysis on the different theories. This one is using those theories. So if you've already done an analysis, you can refer directly to that, and then do your analysis of your own practice, of your own the way you've actually reflected, which model of reflection that you actually use, because there are several. I know which one I use, but it's in action the one I use. But again, that's me because it suits me better. And again, analyse ways how you can improve your own practice after you've done your reflection. Are we okay with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what I would suggest, just as I've said with Deepa, let's have a look at. We're on. Oops. Back on 2 now. Yeah, on 2. Look at LO2, LO1 and LO2. Once you've got those, once you've got some work together for those, just send it me across and let me have a quick look. What I won't do a full assessment, but I'll do the, the one where I make notes on the side with I'll do that one so that you can pick up from there on the review. Yeah. Are we okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Any more questions for this evening?
No, can you just mark my unit 2, please?
Yes, I will. I'll send you back. Yeah, I'll send you that back later. I've got. It'll actually be tomorrow. I've got tonight. I've another 30 AQA reports to do.
All right.